Hi, welcome back to the Craig Carton Show. Tyrone Johnson, happy to have dear friend, NBA Hall of Famer Tim Hardaway Sr. on with us as well. I'm going to get to the book in a second, but one quick NBA thought from you, Timmy. New Yorkers right now are killing Karl-Anthony Towns after last night's game against the Milwaukee Bucks, in which, by his own admission, he did not play well. 5 fouls, stupid fouls, early fouls. He's still averaging 17 and 14, but I'm wondering from you, do you think Karl-Anthony Towns is a good enough player to figure out these moments like last night and carry the Knicks deep into the playoffs and maybe to an NBA championship, where you in the school with a lot of people are, and that he's a good player, he's not a great player, and his game is too flawed to ever really carry a franchise? Which side of that are you on?
Well, I'm going to tell you this. He's with the right team with Jalen Brunson and the crew. He just needs to fit in. Last year, he's with Thibodeau. It took him a half season to figure out exactly what the Knicks wanted him to do. Now he's with another new coach, and now he's trying to figure out what the new coach wants him to do. And it's hard to do. It's hard to figure out. You got to go out there and try to please him. You got to try to please the fans, and you're trying to do it yourself. So, it's a lot of things going on in Karl-Anthony Towns' head, and I understand that. But he just need to come out and play. Take the shots that's given to you, and that, you know what? And the coach don't want him to shoot threes as much as he used to, and he probably had a conversation with him, because I seen him have some wide open threes and didn't take it. So that might be a reason why.
So he might be in his head a little bit. Got it.
Right. The coach might be in his head a little bit, but he needs to come out and just play the way he normally plays. But he does. You know what? He's always been in foul trouble because he's always grabbing. He's always out of position. He doesn't do his work early. And sometimes he be falling down and off balance. That's why he gets a lot of fouls called on him, silly fouls called on him, that takes him out the game and hurts his team. So he has to understand that he needs to stop grabbing folks and going over people's back and pushing people, and just play the game of basketball, and then it come to him. But yeah, he needs to get the coach out of his head, and he just needs to play.
Yeah, he does pick up some silly fouls. We saw it in the playoffs last year. Let's talk about the book for a second, Tim. Killer crossover, My Life from the Chicago Streets, all the way to the NBA and basketball royalty. I'm about halfway through it. But I guess my first question is, why did you write it?
Well, a lot of people came up to me, through the course of 20 years after I retired, and was like, what made you? What made Tim Hardaway to, the crossover, him going out there playing the way he played with a lot of confidence, and you small. Small people don't. We never seen small people go in the lane, make layups over big people and everything. And when I told him about, growing up in the city of Chicago, gangs, I took criticism and made it into constructive criticism. And it just empowered me and made me confident to go out there and play against anybody, and worked on my game. And so, and when I be telling folks this, about me growing up, my parents and all that, and how I grew up and everything, they like, man, you need to write a book. You need to write a book. And so I wrote this book so I could tell people, about my journey, how I made it, what made me, what I had to go through, the trials and tribulations to get to where I got to, and then talk about, raising an NBA basketball player, which wasn't hard. I had to check myself, had to, listen to my wife, had to do this, had to do that. And it's just, and I try to help parents out to make them understand, look, this is their journey. You already did your journey, and this is their journey. So you can't help them, figure out their journey. They got to help themselves to figure out their own journey to make them better.
Let me ask you this. When I wrote my book, I hated it because it made me, you have to write about things from my, my childhood, my past that I didn't want to have to talk about again. And, but if you're going to write the book, you have to write it all. And, you talk a lot about your dad in the book, who, was violent when he was younger, when he was drinking, and what it was like, being on the receiving end of that type of violence in the household. And, to his credit, he got himself right and stopped drinking for a long time. And I know you're very proud of him for that and the changes he made in his life. But when you went back and wrote about those moments as a kid, I wondered if it was cathartic and it was good for you, like therapy, or if it was hard for you to write about those moments. Before anybody knew who Tim Hardaway was, you grew up in a violent neighborhood, a violent home, and dealt with things that kids should never have to deal with. And I wonder what it was like having to go back and reminisce about those moments.
Well, it was a violent home. The neighborhood wasn't as violent as you think it is. I'm talking about when I rode through the streets, riding a bike or going to school or going through different neighborhoods. It gets violent. You got to know where you're going. And you got to know which side is this, which gang is that, to make and understand, how to deal with stuff. But yeah, when I was writing the book, and I asked my dad, I said, this is what I want to say. I want to get this out. It wasn't therapeutic to me because I'm already past it. I already said my mens to him, and he understands where I'm at, and he understands that, I'm not happy about it. I can't. I forgive you, but I don't forgive you because you could have changed then, but you didn't want to because of the alcoholism. So, but yeah, when you go back and you write stuff and you think about, you got to be real sensitive in what you say and how you say it, because people are reading it, and my parents are still alive, and they gonna get to see them and say, hey, Tim was talking about you. Did you really do that? Did you really do that? And he had to say, yeah, and so that's why I had to be real selective in how I say it. And I didn't want to come off violent, like he was. And so I wanted to be sensitive. And he read it, and he understood, and he was like, okay, cool, I'm cool with it. That was before I even had it printed. I wanted him to see it.
Right.
And I wanted him to read it and understand exactly if I needed to change something, tell me so I can change it. And he was like, okay, cool.
I know we're up against, so we're going to have you back on and do a whole hour about the book and the stories in the book, because they're awesome. And not just the NBA stuff, which is great, but going to UTEP and being the little guy in the gym, and that first draft camp you went to when you had to break down all the other point guards, and you did, and then the Hall of Fame career. But I love you, buddy, and I'm really proud of you for writing it, and I can't wait to finish it this weekend. And always appreciate your friendship. And look forward to seeing you in person real soon. And best to your family if we don't talk before Thanksgiving. But always appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Yeah. November 11th.
Tim Hardaway Sr., everybody. Power 5 after this.